In today's show, we look at the NBA's 8 games from Wednesday, give you an update on some news as well. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. There were 8 games on Wednesday. A little bit of news for us to get into, so warning.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right. Ricky Rubio looks like he is going to be back tomorrow. I talked about this on the waiver wire show earlier today, so you can get my expanded thoughts on it over there. I don't think that there's a 12-team ad here for Rubio. It's going to be limited minutes. He's not going to play back-to-backs probably all season, but at least not until after the All-Star break. He's going to be behind the pairing of Mitchell and Garland in terms of ball handling responsibilities, and maybe LeVert. And yes, last season he was great. That's because he was playing 29 minutes a night with only Garland there. So I wouldn't get overly excited about it. He might have some stream value at some point, but that's really about it. Gordon Hayward is doubtful again. They just keep doing it, this stupid team. Rozier, doubtful every game. Cody Martin, doubtful. And now Hayward, doubtful for the 5th consecutive game. Continues to be frustrating. I would have dropped Hayward straight away when he got injured because we knew it was going to be a week, despite these dickheads thinking it was going to be doubtful every game. Jaylen McDaniels would keep rolling with him, and then when Hayward eventually returns, we readjust our expectations. For the Heat, Bam is going to be back, but Hero, who doesn't have an injury, of course, he's out for the 2nd consecutive game, and Kyle Lowry is out again as well. So Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Victor Oladipo, the first of those guys. You can stream those guys in and consider there's some value for them on Thursday. Kelly Olynyk out at least a week. We sort of knew that. We could tell by what they were saying that it was going to be at least a week. I get dropping him. I still think he's going to have value, but if we don't know how long he's going to be out. In a points league, it's a clear drop. In a category league, it just really depends on where you are in the standings. He struggled when he came back from the first ankle injury. He's re-injured it now. I think it's probably going to be 2 weeks. But I don't know that for sure. And then, then he'll have to work his way back into it a bit. So if you need to move on, move on. Cam Johnson, we thought he'd be getting back soon. But again, when people have knee surgery and we get time frames, always chuck extra weeks onto the end of them. He is only doing a little bit of on-court work, only doing one-on-ones and not taking any contact. To me, that means he's not coming back within the next 2 weeks, maybe 3. It feels like it's a while away. So we thought, again, initial time frame was around this time. He was working out with the team. He was doing some lateral stuff pre-game, but apparently not ready. It is hard to hold on to someone without an IL slot, or if you need that IL slot when we're still probably weeks away from him returning. So I'm not sure that you actually need to do it. His upside is not that high that you have to hold through potentially multiple weeks absences still. So yeah, there's that update. That's great. So that gives an extension to the value of Torrey Craig. Not that he's a must-roster guy. He's more of a stream level player anyway. And then we did finally get to see Jonathan Isaac play in a game. Almost 900 days since his last game. It was in the G League. He was pretty aggressive in the first half with his scoring. He tired pretty early in the game and only played about 16 minutes, I think it was. Scored like 15 points. I still don't think that he's going to be worth a head-to-head pickup. You've got to have real deep benches or real stash ability. He's going to be limited minutes. He's going to be very rusty. He's going to be missing back-to-backs for quite a while. And he might only play 20 minutes a night maximum this season. I don't think it's a 12-team head-to-head league ad. I don't. Especially not in points leagues where you hear the numbers bandied about how Isaac was a top 20 player before he hurt his knee, blah, blah, blah. Not in points leagues. Not even remotely close to it in points leagues. His value is in those defensive stats. He still can get those, but waiting until this happens, I don't think he's going to be back with the Magic until maybe the end of next week. And then, we're over, halfway through the season, 60% through the regular season for fantasy. Is he going to be ever at full strength this season? I would have to think probably not. So I don't think that he's worth an ad personally. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure you guys have differing opinions on the value of John Isaac. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar is the protein bar that's a delicious treat. We love delicious treats, but we love being healthy as well. So keep our calories down, keep our sugar intake down, but bump up the protein. Built Bar's got like 17 grams of protein and just 130 calories in a bar. So when you go to try a bar, like you grab a bar, okay, what is this? It tastes like a candy bar, and their secret is 100% real chocolate. That's what it's covered in. All the goat flavors, churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, they're all there. So many great flavors, so much great taste, and a great way to keep yourself healthy. But instead of just going to built.com, you can actually go into Walmart and get them. Go down to the pharmacy section. They've got 4-bar boxes down there in 3 different flavors, cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puff, and you can just buy them straight off the shelf. You can also go to Sam's Club and buy them off the shelf as well. They've got a 13-bar box there in either the brownie batter flavor or in churro flavor. So head to Walmart or head to Sam's Club or go to built.com and order and grab yourself boxes of Built Bars. Built Bar is built different. Let's go into the games. Got 8 of them on. First one. It was the Chicago Bulls losing to the husk of the Washington Wizards. Final score, 100 Washington, 97 Chicago. DeMar DeRozan didn't play, despite listing him questionable. He was out with that thigh issue. I'd have to expect that there might be another one out for him. And they decided to replace him in the starting lineup with Alex Caruso. Wouldn't say that went all that well. 28 minutes for Caruso, 6 points, 2 assists, a steal, 27% shooting. He's just still a defensive stats streamer, and that's it. We thought maybe there was a chance with DeRozan out that Pat Williams would be able to step up. 13% usage, 33 minutes, 6 points, 38% shooting, 6 rebounds and a block. It's shithouse. It's dreadful. He hasn't been able to step up really at all. He has the occasional big game, and it's just not enough. I would hold for one more just to see what happens with DeRozan, but that really is disappointing. The guy who did take advantage of DeRozan's absence outside of the big names was Kobe White. 29 minutes for Kobe, 13 points, 3 threes, 2 steals. If DeRozan's out, you could do worse than stream him for points and threes, but it's probably more for 14-team leagues. Vooch had 15 and 10, nothing super spectacular, still under 20% usage, but the big beneficiary was the skater boy, Zach LaVine. "41 minutes, 38 points, 4 threes, 2 steals. He's a top 10 player over the last week, number 6 in fact. Really on a massive hot streak. He wasn't great from the line here, but everything is going according to plan, or according to his plan of being better. Because he'd struggled at big points during the season, but absolutely flying. I would use this opportunity to see if there's any way of a top 25 trade for him. I doubt there is. But this is the time to do it when we're unsure about when DeRozan or if DeRozan's coming back or when he's coming back. And while LaVine, who was still flying when DeRozan was in, this is a great opportunity to see if there's anything there. Dosunmu played 29 minutes, 8, 4, and 3. Nothing exciting. The Wizards were without Beal, Porzingis, Gafford. So they started a lineup that had Taj Gibson at center, and we had Corey Kispert and Denny Avdia on the wings. Avdia, 35 minutes, 9 points, but 20 rebounds and 3 assists. Previously, when Beal had been out, Avdia was the go-to guy, but recently it hasn't been because they've been starting Gafford and Porzingis, and he'd been limited minutes off the bench. Now, it appears that if one of Porzingis and Gafford and Beal are out, Avdia is going to be streamable. And we thought that might have been the case. Monte Morris, only 29 minutes, still 17 points. That's really good value there. Still usable in 12-team leagues while these players are out. But we finally got a big Delon Wright game. 25 minutes for Delon. And I say big, he had 4 points. But he did have 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block. And that's what Delon Wright is. He is an assist guy with plenty of steals. And if these players remain out, maybe there's streamable value there. I don't think he's a 12-team league guy. We also got 18 points from Anthony Gill. That allows me to do this again.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
18 points in 23 minutes. Not much else. I don't buy it for a single second. And Gibson had 9 and 8 in his 25 minutes. Kuzma, this is what we worried about. He played a lot of minutes and got usage, 21 points, but no steals, no blocks, 4 rebounds only, 45% from the field and 67% from the line. And Rui Hachimura just couldn't do anything. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 33% shooting, no threes, no assists, no blocks. He just really struggles so much in category leagues, in being able to produce anywhere near 12 or 14-team league value. He just can't do it despite all of those players being out. Corey Kispert, unsurprisingly, didn't do much. 6 points with 2 threes. Even with Beal and these guys out, he just doesn't seem to have the game where he's able to ramp it up into something bigger. He just seems sort of stuck where he is. And that's fine, but we have to understand that for fantasy. Next game. The Detroit Pistons, speaking of Husks, the Detroit Pistons knock off the Wolves 135-118. That is just a crazy score. Minnesota, wow. What are you doing? They were without Minnesota Towns, of course, and then Kyle Anderson was a late scratch. They ended up starting Austin Rivers in Kyle Anderson's spot. He had 3 steals and a block, but only 8 points in 29 minutes. He's not really a fantasy-relevant stream guy, despite the steals here. D'Angelo Russell, 19 points, 5 assists. And then Anthony Edwards only played 24 minutes. He left after playing 10 minutes, and they said he's not coming back. Hip soreness. And then there he was, middle of the third quarter, back. He must have said, nah, bullshit, I'm getting back out there. He's been dealing with this hip problem for a while. It's not great that he keeps limping and playing through and coming back into a pointless game and playing into it. It's a little bit worrisome as to where this leads him. He did have 20 points. He had 6 assists. He didn't shoot particularly well, 44%. And he's been a little bit down lately, 135th over the last week. He's got room to improve from there. McDaniels was adequate. That's about all I can say. 11, 3, and 4. Well, it was a pretty strong game from Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert.
But no blocks. 16 and 14, 2 steals, 32 minutes. He's been better of late, for sure, but still not at that high level that we would have hoped for when we drafted him. Jaylen Noel continues to really struggle. 8 points in 17 minutes for him. So even with Edwards going to the locker room, even with Anderson out, he still only played 17 minutes. I thought he played quite poorly. The Pistons got Bogdanovic back, but they were still without Stewart and Duran, so they started Nerlens Noel. The good thing about Nerlens Noel game is 3 steals and 4 blocks. That's great. The troubling thing to me with Noel is, even though no other centers were available, he still only played 21 minutes. And it's taken 3 centers being out for him to get this playing time, and he was great doing it. And Dwayne Casey said after the game, yeah, look, we're just trying to prioritize Jalen Duran, which is great. I love that he said that. I don't see any way that when one of these guys, Stewart or Duran, comes back, that Noel can have any value. Like, he just wasn't playing. And even when, say, Duran was out but Stewart was there, you might get 10 minutes from Noel. I don't think that he's going to be worth a stream unless both of those guys remain out. It was a great game from the depressed penis, 38 minutes, 31 points, 6 rebounds, 4 threes. He has really, really struggled to take advantage of opportunities. He did here, and that's a positive. Do I think that he's anything more than like an emergency stream? Not really. 27 and 6 for Bogdanovic with 5 threes. Welcome back, thank you. And also a strong game from Jaden Ivey. 18, 4, and 8 with 3 steals. Probably his best game. And a great bounce back from Killian Hayes. 18, 3, and 9 with a triple one. Shot 50% as well. Hayes has definitely improved his shooting. I still don't buy this recent level of shooting from him where he's like hitting crazy numbers from 2, like another 75% from 2 in this game. I don't buy that as a long-term thing. But he is clearly a must-roster player and I think clearly a top 100, top 90 player rest of season. I just don't think that the current level of production, the current level of shooting is probably going to stick. Hamidou Diallo played 26 minutes.
Stop. Have a time.
18 points, 88% from the field. He really struggles from the line, and he does struggle in some of the other categories, but with a lot of players out, there's at least some stream value there for Diallo. Burks had 13 in 20 minutes, nothing particularly exciting to write home about there. The next game is the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. Let's start with Tyrese Halliburton's injury. Hurt his knee, landed and hurt his elbow as well. They said he was going to leave the arena on crutches, which is not a great sign. We'll get more information tomorrow. They play again on Friday. I'd have to think he doesn't play there. Now, last time we saw Halliburton out, Andrew Nembhard went crazy. We saw in this game, though, that it was TJ McConnell who went crazy. 26 minutes for McConnell, 14, 8, and 7, 2 steals. Nembhard had 11, 3, and 4. I think they're both viable 12-team adds to see what happens. I would likely prioritize... that's a good question, actually. Who would I prioritize? I'd probably prioritize Nembhard, but just because I think he'll probably get the nod as the starter, but I could see them going with McConnell. And I think both are 12-team options. Hield had 31 and 8 with 7 threes, while... I didn't even talk about this, that there was no Aaron Nesmith, and then O'Shea Brissett was ruled out, and then about 2 minutes before tip-off, Miles Turner was ruled out. Now, to me, this isn't the exact same thing as yesterday, where I went off about the Suns and their lineup stuff. It's obviously frustrating for us playing fantasy that Miles Turner was scratched after lineups locked about 2 minutes before actual tip-off. But this one, at least, you can see the argument, hey, he suffered back spasms after warm-up and when he was trying to get ready to play, and he couldn't go. It wasn't like the Suns where they submitted the lineup with Jock Landale in there, and then they just started Biyombo, and Landale was actually fine and not injured. Turner was actually hurt and didn't play. So while it's annoying and frustrating, the fact that he was a late injury is, I think, a little bit different to that other situation. But we turn around, they didn't even start Isaiah Jackson. They started James Johnson. I don't think he made us proud, but I don't get a chance to do it very often, so... I don't know why. He had 0 points in 13 minutes and it was useless. Didn't start the second half. I don't think he even played in the second half. They started Mathurin in the second half and he had 20 points, which looks great on the surface, but 5 of 9 from the line, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks, continues to remain a very, very empty fantasy player. With Neesmith out, Sticks got the start and then he moved across to center. Stand by your man! That's Jaylen Smith, and he did nothing. 7, 3, and 4 in 25 minutes, while Isaiah Jackson managed 19 minutes, 5 points with 2 blocks. I still think that Jackson's clearly the better option, clearly the better player than Smith, and why they won't go to him, I don't know. We even saw 15 minutes of Goga Badadze to restrict Jackson's minutes. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't know if Turner's a long-term thing. He might miss another game or so, and then you could stream Smith or you could stream Jackson, but again, neither of them blew us away here. If you probably do look at Nembhard and McConnell as the 2 options without Halliburton. Mathurin also would probably start, but it's not lack of opportunities that's limiting his fantasy value. It's lack of production that's limiting his overall fantasy value. On to the Knicks. Rowan Barrett returned. First game back. 41 minutes, 23 shot attempts. Seriously, some of the decisions this coach makes. He had 27, 8, and 4, no defensive stats, 39% shooting. At least he went 5 of 6 from the line, and he's back, but it's frustrating. And we thought, okay, yes, Quickly's going to move to the bench, and he did. And then Quickly played like 13 minutes through the first 3 quarters. And you go, well, what are we doing here? And then he played basically the entire fourth quarter to end up with 26 minutes. 11, 5, and 4. Not a great line, but in 26 to 28 minutes, Quickly can still be a 12-team league player. I don't think that he's necessarily a must-hold, and there were definitely concerns with the lineup that he ran out there in the fourth quarter with Grimes sitting on the bench for basically the entirety of that quarter. So I'm not sure we get that same minutes distribution with Quickly getting 26 minutes, but that's not bad. It's probably a hold, but if there is someone you want to add, drop him. As for Grimes, 30 minutes for Quentin.
This briefcase and this haircut.
Not like he played bad. 18, 5, and 2, 4 threes and 2 steals. Do not drop him. Brunson had 34, 3, and 4, and Robinson played 38 minutes. He had 10 and 9 with 5 steals and 2 blocks for Mitch.
And Mitch Robinson says, I'll take it from here.
Just unbelievable to see him playing these level of minutes. What happened to Julius Randle with Barrett back? Well, predictably, his usage dropped way off. Didn't mean that he took better shots necessarily, or hit shots, more to the point. 14, 16, and 4, 42% from the field, and 2 of 5 from the line. That is always going to be a handcuff for him, is the piss-poor percentages, and the lack of usage is probably going to bring down his overall numbers, which had been sky high without Barrett, but now Barrett's there taking tons of shots as well. Hartenstein played only 9 minutes, apparently had an injury, wasn't able to return. Toppin played only 9 minutes, and McBride played only 6, as they leant heavily on those 6 guys. That's why I have a little bit of faith for Quickly, because we know what Thibodeau does. He can lean heavily on those 6 players, and the rest of the guys played all under 10 minutes. Yeah, meaning that maybe there is 28 there for Quickly, although I'm not 100% convinced considering what happened with Grimes and his playing time down the stretch, which was a little bit frustrating. Today's episode is also brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members that you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications all on one platform. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The next game, the New Orleans Pelicans They go down to the Celtics, 125-114, the final score in this one. I'm just seeing a quote from Rick Carlisle saying that Miles Turner had back spasms before the game, and Carlisle said jokingly, he's not been traded, as I guess Twitter is saying. Believe me, I have no interest in trading Miles Turner. There you go. People say this every time. When was the last time that a player was pulled from a game with a fake injury just so they could be traded? I ask this genuinely. I cannot remember a single time in any recent memory of this happening. But every time someone gets pulled with an injury that seems weird like this, it's a trade. It's definitely a trade happening. But when has it actually happened? I honestly don't know. I can't recall a time of it ever happening. Yet it is the go-to response of so many people so often. For the Pelicans, there was no Herb Jones, so they started the dustbuster Dyson Daniels, 7 points in 25 minutes. He didn't really do much to suggest that he is a 12-team option, even as a streamer. And finally, after we'd moved on from Trey Murphy, he had 15 and 6 with 3 steals and a block. Cool. 34 minutes for Trey, more aggressive, still only 16 usage, but took more shots, brought us defensive stats. If Herb's going to be out, and Ingram and Zion are still out, then of course we can stream Trey, but yeah, the confusion is now increased. Najee Marshall had 18 and 7. He does remain a 12-team league guy, while McCollum had 38 with 6 triples. Big game from him. Only 23 minutes for Valanciunas in this one.
Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, 13 and 4. But it wasn't because we were getting big minutes out of Larry Nance, who played under 20. 0 points for Nance. 2 assists, steal a block. No steals, blocks. 0 steals, 0 blocks. Missed both of his shots. A disastrous game. I'm not certain that he's a must-roster player. He is for certain teams. He's useful for certain teams. This is bad. And I continue to worry that without Zion, he won't actually reach his full potential. This was obviously terrible. Keep an eye on it, but if you wanted to drop him, it's okay. Alvarado had 9 points, but he's really not a 12-team league guy. For the Celtics, they did sit both Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. So we got 38 minutes from Grant Williams. Remember, last time we saw Grant on Monday, huge numbers. This time, 38 minutes, 9 points. That's what I said. That was an absolute fluke performance from Grant, and he's never going to give you that. But the volume of games with guys sitting on this back-to-back gives him a little bit of an appeal. So you can stream him again tomorrow, but expect stuff to not be great. 30 minutes for Derek White, 5 points, but he had 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. I think he's going to be really squeezed when this team is healthy because I think they will start Rob and Al together, and that will move Derek White to the bench. As for Horford, much better game again. 14 points, 4 threes, steal and a block. Back with some really strong performances. There was a real period of time where he was obviously struggling. This is good. We'll see how long he can maintain. Of course, if you're rostering Al Horford for points, you're doing it wrong. You're rostering him for the other stuff that he brings, and it's good to see him finally hitting some shots, which he'd struggled with for so long. I still think, again, that he can be a 12-team back-end player, but I get it if you moved on. That's a good game, but it's not brilliant. Jaylen Brown, 41 points for the big fella.
JB, you've done it again.
And 12 rebounds, great with his percentages, while Tatum had 31 and 10. And it was also a good game from Brogdon, 26 minutes, 20 and 4, 4 assists, 2 steals. Now, Brogdon, much like Derek White, is going to cop it when both Rob Williams and Marcus Smart are in this lineup because they're both going to be fighting for backup guard minutes and probably playing 21 to 22 each or going back and forth game by game as to who gets more of the playing time, which makes him really hard to roster. But he's on a nice little hot streak at the moment, Brogdon, with Smart out and getting some extra opportunities. Again, don't really think that's going to be able to be something that's able to stick long term. The next game, the Atlanta Hawks lose to the Bucks 114-105 in Atlanta, this final score. We've got to talk about it.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
What's going on with this bloke? 2 games in a row, single-digit scoring. 7 points. He had 18 rebounds and 10 assists, but 30% shooting? And that's not because he attempted threes. He didn't take one. He was just 30% on twos. He was bad from the line, 1 of 4. But he has lost all shooting capability, all finishing confidence. This is a guy that you relied upon for gigantic field goal percentage on huge volume, and now he's killing you in that category out of nowhere. I don't know why it's happening. Is it his knee that's a consistent problem? Is this just a short slump that he'll jump out of? I don't know. It's really troubling. It's not something we could have foreseen. I don't know why it's happening. This is is he a buy low? Yeah, probably. But I'm starting to lose confidence that he's going to get back the efficiency from last season. I am worried about it with his knee, for sure. Drew Holiday was good, 27, 4 and 5 with 2 steals. Lopez, another great game. 20 points, 12 rebounds, 4 threes and 2 blocks. While finally Javon Carter did something. 13 points with 4 threes in 22 minutes. He had 2 steals and a block. We know we can't rely upon that, but Grayson Allen and Joe Ingles might be out tomorrow. Allen had to leave this game. Ingles is going to rest tomorrow. So Beauchamp will probably start, but Carter might get a few extra touches. I don't think he's going to be worth streaming, but he's at least in the mix if those two guys, as expected, are out. Talked about it on the waiver wire show. A lot of people were adding Pat Connaughton. He had 10 and 7 in 29 minutes. Again, that last game was a little bit of an outlier for Pat. It is a nice little back-to-back for him, so that does work out if you did add him. But overall, he's not really a 12-team league guy. While it was good to get a double-double back out of Bobby Portis, 13 and 10. For the Hawks, Trae Young was out, so you'd think that would mean a big game from DeJounte Murray. Well, not really. 9, 4 and 5 with 2 steals. He shot 25% from the field. He didn't attempt a single free throw. His rebounds and assists still remain low. He's the 140th ranked player over the last week. He's 37th for the season. He looks more like 2020-2021 Spurs Murray than he does last season's Murray. And I think some of the concerns that I had about maybe he isn't this number one elite level player are being borne out. He's really, really struggling. And while it's a bit of a buy low, I'm not sure it's that much of a buy low. They started Aaron Holiday in place of Trae Young, and then the second half it was Bogdan Bogdanovic, who ended up playing 40 minutes. Bogdan had 22 points with 5 assists. Good to see big numbers there. And of course, Capella still remains out. So Okongwu played 33 minutes and had 7, 9, and 5 with 2 blocks. We just keep rolling with Okongwu in all 12-team leagues. DeAndre Hunter couldn't keep the defensive stats going, couldn't keep the efficiency going, but he did keep the rebounds. 16, 9, and 2 is solid, but he shot 29%. He was 7 of 8 from the line, but no defensive stats. They're the things that were really keeping his numbers up, that we thought this is probably not going to be able to stick. It didn't stick. I still think you can keep rolling with him while he's getting these extra minutes. He's only a 31-minute-a-night player for the season, but he's played another 37 here, and that does give him at least some volume value to be able to use in a 12-team league if you understand where his deficiencies lie. And I would think that you do, given you've seen DeAndre Hunter play for years and years and years. The next game, the San Antonio Spurs, they did take it up to the Grizzlies, especially early, but then they sort of choked it away after that. The final score was 135-129 in Memphis's favor. Keldon Johnson did return. He played 35 minutes. He was inefficient, 35% from the field, 24, 4, and 3 is not bad. But again, the problem's always going to be his lack of rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, paired with bad efficiency, means his rankings are always really low. He still is a 12-team league player, and he's 11 of 12 from the line is excellent. But this, it was interesting to see. Again, just another poor efficiency night. With Keldon back, not surprised, Josh Richardson dropped off. 12, 1, and 5. He did have a steal and a block steal, but those big minutes and the big usage, which we saw not occur when Keldon was there, occur when Keldon was out, and then not occur with Keldon's back. It's just, that seems to be a pattern. You can still hold him in 12s, but he's definitely not a must-roster guy. Trey Jones seems to be the biggest beneficiary from the Vassell injury. 22, 6, and 6 with 3 steals, while Poeltl had 17 and 12 with 5 blocks. Also a great Zach Collins game. 14, 12, and 4, 22 minutes. He got 22 minutes while Poeltl played under 26. I think Poeltl was playing too well, so we got Collins in there. I don't mind Collins as the 12-team ad. Low minutes for Poeltl often, missed games, trade possibilities. I think Collins is worth having for now. I don't think that Jeremy Sohan is.
Zohan now!
11, 3, and 5, 29 minutes, while Langford, he's not a good player, Langford. 3 points in 18 minutes, 14% shooting. He's not a 12-team league player. And I think as we probably expected, or as some expected, that with Vassell going down, there's no real must-add player. Sohan is not a must-add 12-team league guy. Langford is definitely not. Richardson had a nice little run, but when Keldon plays, it's harder for him to do it. And it's just random guys all over the place. Like today, Trey Jones, Doug McDermott had 15 points. Brennan played 18 minutes. Keita Bates-Diop, who the Spurs announced as the starter before the game, played 0 minutes. They did change that. Oh, actually, did they? No, the reporters changed it. But yeah, that was frustrating. They put the wrong tweet out. I don't think that the only one that is marginally close to 12 is Richardson. The others aren't. For the Grizzlies, Ja Morant returned 38, 5, and 4. So let's immediately look at Tyus Jones. He played only 18 minutes. He had 16 points with 2 steals. That's really good. And he remains a solid luxury stash. I don't think that level of production in 16 or 18 minutes is worth holding in 12-team leagues if you can't afford a stash. You might be able to, but if you can't afford a stash. Jaren Jackson only blocked 2 shots, but he had 21 and 12, while Steve Adams, 33 minutes, 11, 18, and 5 with 3 blocks. One of the best games that he's had for the season. And Desmond Bain still stuck at 30 minutes, but he had 18 and 6 with 4 threes, and the shot was much better here after struggling since his return. You're going to be shocked to know this, but Dylan Brooks sucked. 7 points, 25% shooting, 1 assist, no free throws. Absolutely doesn't belong on a 10 or 12, or honestly, probably a 14-team category league roster. That's how bad he is. He struggles. I hate watching him play. I just hate it. The next game, blowout. Back-to-back for the Suns. After beating the Warriors, still everybody's out. They got smashed. 126 Denver, 97 Phoenix. They still had all the same players out as yesterday, and this is what Dwayne Washington does. He has these big games, and he cannot sustain it. 8 points in 24 minutes, 21% shooting, 1 of 3 from the line, 5 assists. He did have 2 blocks, but he's nowhere near consistent enough. You've only got to have him because Paul, Shamet, Payne, and Booker are all out. Like, that's where we are, the 5th guard. Stream if those guys remain out, but that's it. I thought Saban Lee almost played better than him, 8, 3, and 4. Yes, Saban Lee is on this team. Josh Okogie played 34 minutes. He really did make those numbers come to fruition because he played basically all of the fourth quarter when the game was over. 14, 9, and 5 for him, while Šarić had 11, 3, and 2. Honestly, I don't think there's anything to take out of this. Even like Bridges going 7, 5, and 4 on 30%. Oh, well. It was just a nothing game that they were never going to be competitive in. And look at the players out. Paul, Booker, Ayton, Payne, Shamet, Johnson, Crowder, of course. Biyombo played 16 minutes. Landale played 24. Landale was all right, 11 and 8, but still comes off the bench. Surely all these guys aren't out again. If they are, then we do the dance, and then we just try. Like probably Šarić, Lee, Washington are the guys that you consider streamers, but I don't even feel particularly confident with that. And then on the Nugget side of things, it was only 21 minutes or 28 minutes for Jokic. He had 21, 18, and 9 because he's unbelievable. The big stiffy, the 5-minute man, Bones Highland, had 21 points in 24 minutes with 5 threes. But we can't rely upon him to do this regularly enough. He doesn't play enough. And there was something interesting to come out of this game. Jamal Murray sprained his ankle late, end of third, start of fourth quarter around that time. I don't know why he was in the game. Hopefully he's okay. If he is out, they do tend to go to Bruce Brown, and Bones' minutes don't change significantly. But that would be a reason to hold Brown, who had 4 and 2 with 2 steals and a block. Just hold to see if Murray is out. Otherwise, Brown is moving back into stream territory. KCP had 15 points with 4 threes and 2 steals. Solid game. He's again still just a 12-team streamer, back-end player, fringe guy with limited upside. Aaron Gordon's in a bit of a slump at the moment. 12 points in 24 minutes, as is Maga Porter Jr., who had 11 and 3 in 23 minutes. Both of these guys are... Yeah, there's a lot of blowouts in these games at the moment. They're also just in a bit of a form slump. I wouldn't do anything to drop these guys, but it's obviously not ideal that they are losing some playing time, and then their production is also falling at the same time. But just honestly, just a non-event game. Next one was a little bit more interesting. The Rockets and the Kings. We saw the Kings get the victory. They pulled away in the end to beat Houston relatively comfortably. 135-115, the final score. The delicate dancer, Alperen Şengün.
It's a delicate dance in just 17 steps.
He Ray Feltoned his way to a 10-10-10 triple-double. Missed his only free throw. Still only 17 usage and 28 minutes. He did have 4 fouls. But when Kevin Porter went out, hurt his foot, Şengün was basically running like Jokic, like de facto point center. He had 5 assists really early in that third quarter, and they went with him because the replacement in the starting lineup was KJ Martin. So basically Şengün was running point. Garrison Matthews got hot for 4 threes with 12 points. I don't think we need to care about that. But we do have to look a little bit here at KJ Martin. 27 minutes for him, 21 points with 3 threes. Started the second half with Porter out. And if Porter is out, maybe they go that direction again. But it took 69% shooting to get to this stage.
Giggity.
He has 1 assist, 0 steals, 0 blocks. Missed both his free throws. I don't think that he'd be a must-add player. I'd much rather look at the guys like McConnell and Nembhard in Indiana. Jabari Smith, is he bad? I don't know. I think he is at the moment. 8 and 9 in 28 minutes, 38% shooting. It's the same story every game. Bad shooting percentages, low usage, no assists. Even the defensive stats aren't there. You've held him all season, I guess. I think in 8 and 10 team leagues, no problem, drop him. 12 team category leagues, it's got to be consideration. He's just not really improving. It's just the same stuff for every game. And I reckon that at some point, you've got to make a call to cut bait. Jaylen Green took a lot of shots. 26 points on 25 shots in 39 minutes, but it's the same stuff with him as well. Only 3 assists, only 5 rebounds, no defensive stats, 36% shooting on 25 attempts, 5 of 7 from the line for 71%. Hurts you in too many areas. In a points league, definitely must roster, absolutely. In a category league, it's getting to the stage where, like in 10-team leagues, the destruction that he causes your team, it's almost too much. Now, you probably are punting field goals if you got him, so that boosts his number, but it's just consistently bad games on high volume. I still would hold, because again, your team's probably punting field goals, but not really seeing improvements in a lot of these other areas. Porter had 5 points before he got hurt. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but we'll find out more about that tomorrow. I think we can definitely drop Tari preseason, 19 minutes for 7 points, while the Wild Thing played 19 minutes as well, Jayshawn Tate. He had 5 assists and 2 steals. I could see him becoming an option to stream if Porter's out, as he runs the second unit and can be an option for assists. For the Kings, Sabonis, 38 minutes. They're playing him so many minutes. 25, 14, and 9. It's a very Sabonis line. Big numbers in those categories, and then 0-3, 0 steals, 0 blocks. But great field goals, great free throws. He continues to be really, really strong. Trey Lyles also got really hot late. 20 points on 75% shooting with 2 blocks and 3 threes. Find it really hard to trust Trey Lyles as a backup center and backup power forward to be that interested in him. Fox had 24, 2 and 9. While Keegan Murray had 16 and 6. He hit 4 threes, but no defensive stats, 2 assists, 36% shooting. Still remains, I think still pretty 12-team fringy. No problem to have him, but definitely not blowing us away with big performances. While last game, the pencil Harrison Barnesy, he was great. In this game, he was mediocre. 16, 2 and 0. Fine when you're looking for points. Fine to stream and hold in 12-team leagues, but not someone I'd consider a must-roster player. With Kevin Huerter out, Terrence Davis started and played 23 minutes. I thought we'd get more from Malik Monk. He only played 21. Davis had 6 points. Monk had 11. Nice block from Davis, but sub 30% shooting for both. Neither of those guys need to be considered 12-team league guys. If Huerter remains out, Monk can be a 12-team streamer, and Davis is like a 14 to 16-team league option, I think. The lines of the night, the monstrous line of the night goes to Jaylen Brown. Big game from him, career high, season high, 41 points. Waiver wire is Trey Lyles. Your young gun is the 5-minute man, Bones Highland. And the dud of the night is Dylan Brooks. Top 10 players today. Number 1 was Jaylen Brown, followed by Sabonis, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jalen Brunson, Steven Adams, Buddy Hield, CJ McCollum, Nikola Jokic, Trey Jones, and Sadiq Bey. Your top 10 players rostered in under 50% of leagues. Lyles, okay, I don't really care for that. TJ McConnell, I'm very interested in. Nerlens Noel's a defensive stats streamer if Stewart and Duran remain out. Avdija was at number 4, and if Porzingis or Gafford are out, I think he's a 12-team league option. Zach Collins, don't mind adding him. Number 6 is Doug McDermott, and 7 is Austin Reeves, just no. Garrison Matthews, no. Jeremy Sohan, probably a 14-team league guy, and then Frank the Tank Kaminsky, who, absolutely, we're not looking at him. It wasn't a great day for low-rostered players, let's put it that way. Top 10 players in points leagues today. Number 1 is Jaylen Brown, followed by Jokic, McCollum, Tatum, Sabonis, Adams, Trey Jones, Zach LaVine, Ja Morant, and Jakob Poeltl. And that, guys, will do it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. And if you are here on YouTube, thumb it up and leave those comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.